It's Monday, it's 5 o'clock, and it's the Gisela show. I'm Gisela De Carlo, a classical homeopath and natural health care know it all. Well, I wouldn't say that, but I do know a lot because I do study it all the time. It's my passion, my life, my everything. I couldn't live without having knowledge of natural health care. Now, first of all, I have a very nice show prepared for you. But first of all, let's say hello to Amnon, our producer. Hello, Amnon.
Hello, Gisela. How are you?
I am so much better after I'll tell you the story about my knee. It is just really, was, like I said, without homeopathy, I couldn't live. Uh, but I do want to tell our audience, please do ask questions. Please do rate the show. And please do, uh, participate. Everybody, I mean, I know that there must be many people that come, that, uh, you know,
Watch.
tune in every Monday. We know that because we know it on the numbers. There can't be always new ones. And I really find we I would love to have your participation. That way I can gear the show towards what you really need, and what you want to have answers to. It pains me uh, to know that there are people out there in pain with problems, either themselves or their animals, and they don't ask the questions. It's un it really is saddened to me, but it's so easy.
Yeah, and I'll
You
tell
just, yeah, please do.
919-518-9773. It's just a phone call away. Now,
Yeah,
if you don't want to be heard on the air, a lot of people are shy and oh no, I don't like this, then it's fine. Log in to the page at nissancommunications.com, watch live, log into the chat, put any name that you want. You don't have to type anything afterwards to communicate. But believe me, the questions will come up. And then you can just type your question and I will relay to Gisela and you'll get an answer. If
absolutely.
you are in another part of the world and you can't call that number locally, then just use Skype to get into Computers 2K Voice. Computers 2K Voice. One word, no spaces.
Terrific. Yes. It's so easy. We don't ask for your email. We don't send you emails afterwards. I really don't have much to sell other than my expertise, and I don't sell that here at the show. You have it completely free, completely free. And if you really have a problem, if you do not email me your problem, which you can email to either on Nissan Communication. My email address is right there. Or you can email me to my homeopathic email address, and that is homeopath, the number 4, me at live.com. Homeopath, the number 4, life. Sorry, got distracted here. I had another thought in my head about this old cat I want to tell you. So
It is a
let me give
lot
you the email address one more time.
it is a lot simpler. Your name is right above the video. If they click on
There
it,
you go.
it will take them right there and it's homeopath for me at live.com.
.com. Yes. Thank you, Amnan. Thank you. That's why you're such a great guy, keeping me on track. I mean, it gets that way. I was looking down, and while I was talking, I read Old Cat, and that was in my head, and the homeopath flew out of the window.
That's okay.
So
There's already a question.
let's let that's great. Let's have it.
What do you give your dogs for heartworm prevention?
Ah, I get that all the time. You know what, guys? It depends on where you live and what kind of dog you have. There is really no heartworm other prevention than in homeopathy, because homeopathy is really not a prophylactic. You know, you don't use homeopathy prophylactically. Uh, I don't give my dogs heartworm medication because they are all long haired dogs. And heartworm can only occur, the dogs can only get heartworms if they get bitten by a mosquito that uh, transmits the worm into the pet. So it's really not as prevalent as the vets make it out to be. I don't say that it doesn't exist. Yes, it does. Predominantly for very short-haired dogs, or if you shave your dogs. That's another thing. I just saw the other day on the street a little Pekingese that was shaved and only the head, the hair was, and looked like a little lion. But not a good idea. These dogs have the fur to cool them as well as to keep them warm. It is specific to the dogs, to the animals. Animals need to have that hair on their body. Like my horse, I have to brush in the summertime so that the hair can stand up and cool the animal. And it's the same thing with dogs. The hair will stand up. They go, when they get hot, they go to cool themselves. And at the same time, their hair stands up a little bit so that it cools the body. Like I have said this many times before, in Arab countries, people shroud themselves in cloth and layers, not only for modesty, but also to avert the heat. You don't put a wool sweater on, but you put on appropriate layers, and that cools the body because it wicks away sweat and it wicks away the heat. So please don't shave your dogs in the summer, okay, or anytime really. And the groomers, they make it a big thing. Oh, dog is so much cooler. No, he is not. No, he is not. Not a good idea. Okay, but a good question. I get it all the time. There's no prophylactic. If you have a short-haired dog, then and you live in a climate where you have a lot of mosquitoes, Google it and see if there's a lot of heartworm reported from the vets. Then, yeah, of course, you have to give the heartworm medication. I I don't give my dogs any of that. They don't get any kind of chemicals. Not even in their dog food. They get raw food, and I have a vitamin compound. One is a vegetable kale, Brussels sprouts. It's a fine powder. I just put a little, and the other one is a minerals and vitamins that I give, and alternate that, and I sprinkle it over the, the ground meat. They usually eat ground meat. It's one of the cheaper ones. And chicken, I'm not partial to give raw chicken. Like we wouldn't eat raw chicken. So I would do that. But a good question. Okay, great. Any others
No, keep
at
going.
this point? Then we are going to get to that old cat. Listen, guys, I would say about 50% of my practice is that somebody calls me up and says, I have a 15-year-old cat who doesn't want to eat. Well, first of all, let's talk about age. What is an old cat? Cats generally live 12, 13 years, generally. Depending on the breed, depending on how you've been taking care of the cat, depending on if it was a shelter cat and it was abused before or on the street before, poor nutrition. You got the cat and you've had the cat now for 10 years. Now the cat is 15 and you should be a lucky, lucky girl or man. Older than 20, I have never, ever seen a cat. One of my cats was 19 and a half. She died naturally. I revived her twice before that. She just laid and she just would not wake up. I gave her carbo veg, and it's a homeopathic remedy, and I gave it to her every 10 minutes. And after about I would say about 45 minutes, she started to stretch and she meowed a little bit and she tried to get up. She was wobbly. And then she, like 2 hours later, she was walking around again. I felt sort of like she was old at that time already. She was about 16, 17 at that time already. And she was a pain in the neck. One of those cats that's always needy and always, I was like, all right, you are going to go sad. You were a good cat while you were young. In your older age, you were a little bit, little more hissy. And, but, we love you and we hope you go over the Rainbow Bridge. And she didn't. And she lived another 2 years. So not that I minded that, but on the other hand, I was saying, oh my God, we create our own problems. And anybody who knows the show and who knows me already, what a terrible animal lover I am. I am not terrible. I'm such a good animal lover. I would love to take all animals. I can't. So I end up with 3 cats and 3 dogs and a bunch of chickens and a horse. And, so yeah, I know a little about it. But when your cat gets older, like about 12, 13, 14, 3 things is what most cats die of. One is kidney failure. The other one is liver and kidney failure, or just liver failure. It's more rare. And the other one is cardiovascular. They either get a heart attack or a stroke. Those are the 3 things that most cats die of. And to prevent that a little bit, even though I said earlier, homeopathy is not a prophylactic, but it can keep the system attuned to that it does not, that everything functions well. The liver needs certain enzymes and certain signals from the body to function well. So does the kidney and so does your cardiovascular. Now, these remedies that I'm going to be telling you about, they are interchangeable with humans. They are no different from animals to humans. You give the same type of remedy to an animal as you would give to a human for the same kind of conditions. You just have to then abbreviate, like, for instance, um, cardiovascular. How would you know when to give, like, arnica? Well, you give arnica for several things. One, when we have a big bruise, or we banged ourselves, or we hurt ourselves somehow. But we also give arnica for cardiovascular. Arnica pumps the blood better. It helps the heart to stay stronger. So for that, you would give a 200C. For an acute case of, let's say, um, you have a big swelling, you banged yourself real hard, and you have a big bruise and swelling, you give a lower one. For instance, you can give 6 or 9C for a bruise. But if you want to increase cardiovascular activity, or you want to maintain it, I sometimes give arnica also to somebody who has very high blood pressure, where the blood pressure, the upper one, the systolic one, is lower than expected. Like, for instance, if somebody has 110, the diastolic, and then the systolic is, let's say, 140. I give then a dose of arnica to bring the systolic one up, and that with that method, sometimes I get the diastolic down. It's it's a difficult thing, and you have to know what you're doing. Don't really do it on your own if you have high blood pressure. I'm just telling you. That's what arnica. Arnica is a polycrest remedy. It does a lot of things. In the homeopathic community, there was a lot of talk at one time of taking arnica all the time. I equate arnica to almost like an aspirin. Okay, it's just better for me. I can take arnica. Aspirin I can't take. If I take aspirin, I start bleeding. My veins just start oozing into the skin blood. It's a condition that I have, and so I don't take aspirin. I take arnica instead. If I have a violent headache or whatever, I take arnica. But not everybody, not everybody should, okay? I'm just telling you that's what arnica can do. So you can do that for your cat. Let's say, for instance, this old cat that I had, that I revived with carb veg. Well, what I did then is I gave her every day in her food, I gave her a couple of grains of arnica pellets, just a couple, like 2 or 3. And she ate it with her food, and she was fine. I contribute that, of that she lived another 2 years. When would you know that your cat would need arnica? Well, usually when they are very apathetic, they're tired, all they do is sleep. They don't want to play. They don't really want to go out. Sometimes they even slow down their food intake. It's sort of like, okay, I'm preparing now. But if you're not ready, start giving some arnica. Okay, arnica may help quite a bit, and it's really hard to say how much arnica and how often. I always say, watch your animal very closely, or watch yourself very closely. See what's happening. Has anything changed? After you've given the arnica, does the cat move around better? Well, give it for a day or 2 or 3 days. And if no improvement has been, then I would not give any more. I would just let it go at that time. Sometimes the remedy works in addition. That means you have given the remedy for 3 days, but the remedy acts for another 2 weeks. So you decided, okay, this is not working. I'm not giving any more remedy. And 2 or 3 days later, the cat all of a sudden jumps up on your lap, purrs, starts kneading, goes out. The face, the whole outlook of the cat is just very different, much more energetic again. And it's not a miracle. It was that the remedy finally kicked in. The body finally decided, okay, we're just going to increase heart and circulatory activity a bit. And that's what remedies do. They don't themselves. The remedy itself does not do much of anything. It just gives that kickstart to the body.
Another
Now
question.
let's say,
Oh,
yes.
are we done talking about arnica for?
Yeah.
Okay. The question is, what remedy is good for vertigo?
Oh, there's several. What kind of vertigo do you have? Write it into the chat, and Amnon will tell me when I go on. Okay, but very good question. Vertigo. There are several remedies, but I need to know a little bit more. It's not just an off the pat. Okay, there's several. Like for instance, not myrrh is one. Nox vomica is one. There's several, but
Okay.
so tell me a little more about it. Okay.
I'll wait for that. Keep going.
Okay. Now, if your cat, this is another problem that I have often is they call me up and say my cat drinks an awful lot but doesn't want to eat really anything, is really picky with the food, doesn't want to eat. Old cats, often that is. And if they drink a lot with that, then that could be a kidney problem. Now, the real kidney and urine tract remedy is cantharis, but I would not give cantharis to that cat. I would give to that cat mercurius. And I would do it every day. And if you only have one cat, you can put it into the drinking water and let the cat drink it every day as much. Mercurius helps the kidneys to function more normally again. But it has to be a 200C, okay? So it has to be, because that is a chronic condition, and chronic conditions we treat with a higher potency. The other one that is very often too is that cats, especially calico cats or those red cats, you know, those red tigers, in their old age, they get fat and lazy and they just lie around and they show development of clouding of the eyes. They really are not. Sometimes they can be a little bit on the nasty side when it's just, you know, like for instance, you go by and they're sleeping and you just want to stroke over, but you might get a swat. Those cats really, and those cats will eat the strangest things. You will give them the favorite, the best food, you know, $10 a morsel. They will reject that. But what they want is something like, a piece of wood they may have found outside, or they may chew on something. Those cats need Calcara carbonica. Calcara carbonica. And I would give there a 12C. So that usually cures them right away. Like you just give it to them for a week or two, and they will start slimming down a little. They will act a little bit more normal, and their system will just rev up again a little bit. Okay. Uh, a cat that starts losing weight very drastically. And now I'm talking about old cats only, okay? Over 12 years old, 10, 12 years old. So younger cats, if they need one of these remedies, it may be the indication, but not necessarily, okay? So I'm talking here about an older cat. They have usually teeth problems, over the years, as we do, our teeth start to rot, and they start to, and I don't know of anybody who brushes their cat's teeth. Um, I wouldn't even attempt to at my cats. They would eat me alive. Uh, like, what are you trying to do with that brush, But they do get calcium up on the upper part of their tooth, and calcara florica is the right remedy for that. And if you usually see it on the bottle, it says calcara flu, FLUE. That is florica. And there you would also give a 12C. And I would give that also once a day. You can give it in food, you can give it in their water. If it's the only cat, you can give it in their water. And then they drink that. Now, old cats, just like old people, forget. They have problems remembering. And I know of two clients of mine. They went and had their cat put down because of that. I found that very sad. I found out afterwards, and I thought I didn't want to make them feel bad that they did, because they did feel bad, but the cat forgot where the litter box was. Now, if anybody has ever lived with a cat like that, you know how annoying and how bad that is. They can really literally ruin your house. And because cat pee is the nastiest things that is around. And but if you have a cat that had an accident or two, give the cat Barita carbonica. Barita carbonica. It helps to remember what where is what, where the litter box is, where their favorite place to sleep is, where the dish with the food was, those kind of things. It almost is like Alzheimer's but carbonica, Barita carbonica helps tremendously. And that I would give in a 6C, and you have to give that every day also. Now, if you have a memory problem like that, you could also take Barita carbonica. Usually it is combined with a skin problem, okay? Those cats usually have some kind of a skin problem where they keep losing their fur too fast, they scratch a lot, they even have some raw spots where they shoo off their fur. That remedy helps with that. And I can only really commend you if your cat is over 12 years old or older. Now, one of the things I said to you that cats die of is stroke. And that happened to me. I had an old cat, he was a Manx mix, and we loved that cat. He was long haired and he was just so beautiful. And in his younger years, he was just, he looked like one of those Swedish forest cats. They are long haired, they are a little bigger. He would go on walks with me, with the dogs here in the woods. I mean, he was just a neat cat. Well, one evening we were sitting, and he was old. He was 16 or so on. We didn't know how old he was in reality because he found us here. He just came one day and never left. And so that cat had a stroke, and at that time, I did not know enough about homeopathy. I've learned over the last 15 years an immense amount about homeopathy, only because I made it a point to do so. Normally, just because you've gone to school and become a classical homeopath, and if you never opened another book or you never went to anything else, to any other training courses, your knowledge will be really quite limited. It's just like a doctor. So if I would have known, I would have given him right away a combination of Arnica and Belladonna. Belladonna is a remedy that you give. It's an atrophy. They used to put it into eyes to make the eyes shiny. In the old film movie industry. It wasn't that good for the eyes because it also constricted or dilated the pupil. And so you had this very, surprised stare. But Belladonna does that to the vessels, too, to the blood vessels. And that is why Belladonna and Arnica, as I had described Arnica, and what you do is you dilute it and you give it every 15 minutes. Take a little dropper, and if there's a stroke, it depends how severe the stroke is. Now, this cat that we had, he tried to squeeze himself under the bed, and he was almost to the point of being totally stiff, and he was crying pitiful. So I called my vet, and she was gracious enough to run to the office because it was the day before New Year's Eve. And, we helped him pass. But it was just really, if I would have known that, I probably would have done that for this cat. Now, baptisia is also a remedy. If the cat can be cured, if it is a slight stroke, like for instance, that only the hindquarters are stretched out and immovable, or one side only, then, these remedies will definitely work. Now, yes, did we get an answer to that, Vertigo?
We have dizzy when rising from reclining and from upright to recline. Sometimes a little nauseous. Usually resolves after sleeping for a few hours, but sometimes takes longer.
Yeah, you may want to check your blood pressure. Blood pressure, you may have a blood pressure problem. It may be too low, so you may have to do more activity. Now, not more works for vertigo many times. If there's nausea involved, you can also try Nox vomica. Nox vomica can help with that, but obviously you've had this for a while, right? Very likely. Or is that new? Is it something that has just come on?
No,
Okay.
it's
No,
been there. Yeah.
yeah, it's been there. I, I would, my first thought would be blood pressure. I would see that I regulate your blood pressure, and I would do that homeopathically. I just had a case. Woman had huge legs, edema in the legs. Her blood pressure was through the roof, and she was adamant not to go to the doctor. I really felt that she should have had at least an EKG, but she did not even want to do that. So I said, fine. I'm going to treat you for 2 weeks. If I cannot get the blood pressure down, then I really have to urge you severely to go and have it checked if you have a clot somewhere. And lo and behold, her blood pressure is now quite normal. The edema in her legs is abating. The legs are half the size that they were before, and I'm sure we can do the rest too. But blood pressure and circulatory problems are not to be played around with, because that's your lifeline. That's what you live of.
Yep.
If that doesn't work, it's over. And nobody wants that. So if it is blood pressure, but having said that, I do not believe everybody who's on blood pressure medication should be on blood pressure medication. Okay, so take that.
Now, what if it's
Yes.
it's not blood pressure?
If it's not, then it could be a. I'm almost sure it is
Okay.
circulatory. I mean, I would say 85 to 90% it's circulatory.
Okay.
Because the way when she moves, if the vertigo would be that she walks along the road and all of a sudden she gets dizzy and she starts to have vertigo, then it's a different story. If she stands on top of a building and looks down and she has vertigo, that's a different problem. But what she is saying is when she gets up from a prone position to a sitting or standing position and she gets dizzy with that is an indication of a circulatory problem. Okay. So I would have that either checked and get back to me, send me an email, tell me what you have done already. I won't charge you anything. I just, go ahead, tell me. If you allow me to talk about the case afterwards, naturally without mentioning your name or anything else, that would be cool, because we do want everybody who's on and listens wants to learn something of how to take care of themselves.
All right, now I have a question. All the things that you were describing for cats, for this, they don't work for dogs also?
Yes, also for dogs.
Okay.
Yes, but cats are a different thing. Not all remedies that you can give dogs, you can give to cats.
Okay.
But all remedies that you can give to cats, you can also give to dogs or humans.
Okay.
Because cats, their digestive system and their physiology is slightly different. They can react to a remedy violently in the opposite direction, you know. So you have to really quite see. I had that with a little kitten once. Um, I stopped up nose, continuously had this rhinitis thing going on, and I couldn't fix it and couldn't fix it. And finally I said, I'm just going to give this remedy. I gave this remedy, and the cat almost sneezed itself to death. It was unbelievable. I gave the opposite, the remedy to negate that remedy, and then the cat was fine, and it cured the problem, but it was not the way it was meant to be. Yeah, because, and then I read up on it and I saw, yeah, that was a remedy that cats really don't like and shouldn't have, you know. So anything that you give to your cat, you can give to your dog.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a fast show. Fun. Listen, guys, please do rate the show. Thank you so much for the questions. The Vertigo person, I really, please do email me the particulars. I will send you back the answer. And, you know, it's one way of, you might be able to fix yourselves there with that. It's an awful feeling to have every time you get up, you sort of like go, ooh, oops, right? No, not good, not good. So email me that question, and then next week I will talk about it, or the week after, depending. So, my guys, so much fun. God, I love doing this show. I really do. It's so much fun because every time, see, I go and read these remedies and then I tell you about it. So I'm learning and I'm telling you, and sometimes I know already, but I'm telling you so that you can learn and that you can help yourself. So you don't have to depend on pharmaceuticals continuously. Sometimes you have to, but I think we're doing it way too much in this country. Way too many animals on too many things that are not regulated and not tested completely. And the same goes for people medicines. And I find it's always, when in doubt, always go to the homeopath or natural health practitioner first, then go to the doctor. And with that thought, bye-bye. I see you next Monday, 5 o'clock, the Gisela Show right here. Bye-bye. Thank you, Amnan.
You're welcome.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.